Good morning, welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program, covering finance on this year, Tuesday, Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. And today I'm looking at the topic, much show off, waste, oppression due to chasing unreal life and epic adventures. So welcome again and thanks for being with me here. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word and this day. I pray the Lord to me. Bless my mind and those that are listening, and may we truly, dear Lord, live according to thy will and thy way, and for the blessings of ourselves, for Christ's sake. Amen. So I'm looking at this concept here, which is much show off, where somebody's always showing off, much waste, and oppression are due to chasing unreal life or living epic adventures. So I'm continuing my theme here, which is why living an unreal life or fairy tale life or living in fantasy land will lead to great disappointment. And why life filled with magical thinking and mythological creatures, enchantments, epic adventures, and fanciful beings never ends well. And so we're supposed to be grounded in the truth. We're supposed to be grounded in reality, in reason, in knowledge, and wisdom and understanding. But because of we live in a world where there's so much things like movies and what they call it, reality TV programs and cartoons, that our minds become unstable and it makes us unfit for regular life, real life. And things that are supposed to be real, we become very fanciful and we can become even unhappy because we are not grounded in reality, and what could be very happy experience cannot be because we have crazy concepts of what life is supposed to be. And that could be for work, for just your day-to-day life, what parenting is, what a marriage is. All these things we can have very fairy tale idea. And when we have these ideas, then reality kicks in, and then people realize it's very stressful. Often you've probably hear stories. Sometimes you hear these stories of somebody who have a child and they think the child was for fun and games only, and they don't understand the child need to be educated, the child need to be taken care of, and they go along this life and they take a beating. And the reason why they take a beating is because they're not really understand the stress and the pressure and the responsibility, grave responsibility that rests upon having children. And so it is with the marriage. People can live in a fanciful world, and when they live in a fanciful world and they have this kind of concept of marriage, where marriage is something to do with a fairy tale, it's to do with Prince Charming or Prince Charles, his name is. I'm going to sweep you off your feet and marry you, and it's going to be a wedding where pumpkins turn to chariots and, all kind of crazy thing. And you realize, no, you're going to die in a few years, and it's mess. It's all a mess. It's some crazy people. So this is kind of how I want to look to you with it here. So another way I could render this is that you can keep up with the Joneses, because when you keep up with the Joneses, sometimes the Jones are living a terrible life, and they need to keep up with you. But you're over there looking at them and thinking that they're living a great life and you need to keep up with them. In 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 1, 2 Peter 2, verse 1, it says, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction." So this is important for us because we live in a time that the probably in a global sense or a secular sense, the dominant theory is evolution. It tells children from their being children to now that they're evolving and things are getting better. Now the technology might be getting more interesting and more useful and fascinating and more productive. You get more production. But the people are evolving, they tell us. They're getting better. You see, these are fanciful, damnable heresies. And the people who accept these, they're the ones that seem like they're evolving. And so we don't want to accept that type of stuff. We want to basically go with what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't describe that from the time of sin or time of creation to now, we're not ever evolving. We're getting better. So these are the damnable heresies. So there's multiple damnable heresies. And as I say, have you ever talked to a child who really enamored with cartoon and they're so out of touch with reality that it's amazing? They see monsters and stuff like that. But there's adults that have some of these damnable heresies that they don't different, and they're so disconnected from reality that they don't different. And that's something you're thinking, are they mentally unstable? And I say yes, because it's unstable, the mind. Because the mind cannot deal with regular life and real life and just regular things. So damnable heresies. So normally we read this, most people say this, you're talking about doctrinal errors. Doctrine is just a teaching. There's damnable heresies that Paul had to deal with, that had to deal with the secular world. And so we are dealing with the same thing with the secular world and in the religious world. Just damnable heresies. Heresies that when you follow them, you shall be destroyed. Notice in verse 2 it says, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, because that's always what happened. By reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they, with vain words, make merchandise of you. So I'll pause there. So when you deal with what's going on here, what it is that somebody want to live this epic adventure of a lifestyle. And they want to be princesses and dukes and duchesses and all that type of stuff. And because of that, they'll make merchandise of you because they have to figure out who's going to pay for my fanciful lifestyle? Who's going to pay for my epic adventures? Who's going to pay for that? And in so doing, by doing this, they end up making merchandise of you. And this happened in the church and it's happened in the world. So you see all what's going on. When it's all said and done, it's about money. And it's not about natural, it's not about your health, it's not about all this type of stuff. It's just about using people. And when you analyze what's going to happen, it's going to be the poor that they're jumping and they're getting excited and they're going to get ripped off. And that's all that's going to happen. They're going to get poorer. And that's what's been happening. The last 50 years, last 25 years as an example. Can you say that the poor has gotten poorer and the rich has gotten richer? But they tell them, oh no, we're just here for you. And then at the end of the day, the only thing they're there for is for their crazy lifestyle. So notice here, and through covetousness, because those who are speaking the falsehood, they're going to benefit off of you. So it's important for them to teach the falsehood. So they're covetous and they want more than they should have. And they'll make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. So that's one of the important things to study and to study out that for me I find it so fascinating. Because here Peter says that their judgment lingered not, and their destruction or damnation slumbereth not. So can we see that those who are hunting down money because they love money so much like Judas, do they end up dead? And we can see that people get confused as to why the most industrialized nations and the most richest nations on earth have the highest rates of suicide and depression. And it's obvious because they view life as they have, how they call it, distill life down to one thing. And it is their financial. And it's all about money and about a fairy tale lifestyle. And so community, others that are less fortunate is not in their calculation. All is in their calculation is how much they can amass wealth at the destruction of others. So one has to be aware of this. So notice here now, he says, for if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to reserve unto judgment, and spared not the whole world, but saved now the eighth person, or eight people, a preacher of righteousness, so eight, and seven more was his family, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. So there is this concept here that we always have to take note. It's not just in a religious environment, because with Noah, he was dealing with what was going on in the society. And the society was moving in a way that they have moved away from reality. I'm going to deal with that in a second. And notice now, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow with fire, that is, making them an ensample unto those that should live ungodly. So there is some description of the Noahic time, the time before the flood, but we cannot understand very clearly the time of Sodom and Gomorrah in the story of Lot and Abraham. Now that story is important to us because if we can kind of get an idea for my topic here, or my theme here this week about people living fanciful lifestyle and living daydreams, if you get an idea in your mind as to what to what level to what level is this concept here of living a fanciful lifestyle, fairy tale lifestyle, and lifestyle that is based upon fantasy. It would be with this concept of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because if you notice our modern day LGBTQIA plus people, there is when you run into like a male, like a lesbian, like a female that is acting as a male, there's almost, unless you're into WrestleMania and people who live on weightlifting, there is no male that is more masculine than a female that's a male. It is at the fairy tale level. So if you wanted a real man, that would be the realest man you could find. It's amazing. And then when you go to the female and a man that is acting as a female, there is no female that is effeminate or feminine than a male that is acting like a female. They take like for instance, there's things a female do that obvious. I didn't realize that they do it to a certain degree. I didn't understand. But then when a male does it, he overemphasizes it so much that if you were looking for the femalest female, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, a man acting as a woman, it's amazing. There's just simple gestures that female do that they take it and they blow it up. And so they're in a fancy, the world is so, I don't know what to say, fanciful. Like when people are at an extreme, in other words, how they go at life, they actually become like a cartoon character. And if you've been noticing this, but more and more I'm seeing, basically, as I'm sometimes out and about, and more when I go to a more urban area, not in a rural area or a suburban area, but more in a city area, that I've been noticing that there's people walking around like as if they're in an anime. There's a Japanese, I think, or Korean, I think it's Japanese cartoon, or they're in an American cartoon, and they seem like a cartoon character, like they're in costume. Even Halloween, they're in costume. Like you see them at Halloween, you think, oh, that's a costume. Oh, that's so funny. And then you see them a month later, you be like, wait a minute, I think Halloween is over. And you realize, oh, they're in a cartoon, or it's a movie, and they're like an action figure, because that's what some of these bodybuilders are with their drugs. They're action figures, and so the normal is remotely far from them, and so for them, life is going to be like over the top. And it's going to be like, as I say, a fanciful adventure. It's an epic adventure, because that has to be like, you wonder what it's like to live in that type of mindset and brain, because they seem to bend reality and fiction to a point where when you see them, you'll be like, you're looking for the cameras. Like, are there cameras around? Is there a movie? Did I walk into a movie set and they were filming, and I by accident, I just strayed onto a set of a movie. And then I realized, no, I'm not in a movie. I'm in real life. They're in a movie. And it seemed like I just walked into their movie, but it's real, right? And there's no cameras. So their mind is there's this thing with the mind that sometimes, and if you've experienced it, you experience disassociation where the mind, I don't know if you ever drop and hit your head or whatever, whatever reason, or you feel woozy, you feel tired, or the mind sort of bend reality and fiction. And you have a kind of a oozy feeling that, oh man, what's going on? Well, that to me, when you look at the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, I've never lived there, so I don't know what it'd be like to have rapists everywhere and pedophiles everywhere, till even the children are pedophile, and you have men that when you see them, and I was told, somebody said to me that the plastic surgeons are getting better, because more and more there's men that you look at it, you have to take a double take, and some of them you can tell real quick that there's a man in there somewhere deep inside of there. There's a man, but some of these people, you look at them, you'll be like, okay, this one, and some female you see that's is like, you're like, is this female a man or is it a woman? Because this is getting better. The hormonal treatment and the drugs and then the surgeries have just become it's epic. So everything is an epic adventure and everything is just over the top and nothing is normal. So for me, you look at life, like, okay, life is normal. You have to take care of your food. You have to, just do regular life. But these people, like, are they in Mars already? So a lot of life is configured in this way where people are in an epic movie. It's an epic adventure. It's with, like they're Batman and Robin or they're Superman, and it's crazy what's going on. And so you can imagine with Sodom and Gomorrah, this is like what it is. It's, you say, how could they arrest somebody and they find, I don't know if it's real or they're just making up stuff, that there's hundreds of bottles of baby oil. Like it's the person has gone over the top. It's like, nothing is real. Everything has to be a fancy. No sexuality can be like normal. Everything is just like, you have to believe they're lying on the person because it can't be that crazy. But this is where we have gone. So if you see this now, Christ says, turning that world upside down, like just overthrow it with a flood of fire, because this is where we're at. So as I say, you can walk around and you think you're in an anime cartoon or something, and I've seen people like that. Are they on? You ever see these programs? I remember years ago I'd seen programs where they have like hurdles and obstacles, and the person must fight through the obstacles, and they look like they're a warrior, but it's all make-up obstacles, not real obstacle. They're not over there in which is real life now, over there in what the place called Palestine, or over there in Ukraine fighting real wars. They're fighting fake wars for TV on a stage with crowds cheering them. And you think, okay, that's fake. But then you see people walk in the street and they look like they're going over obstacles, and you're like, no, it's just concrete and pavement, is just sidewalk. There's no obstacles here. But they look like that they're in a Mortal Kombat video game. So we have video game characters walking around us. And so for them, life is going to be difficult, and life is going to actually give them a wake-up call, because they're out of touch with reality. They're so far gone that they believe they're walking in a movie. So that's basically where this thought with Sodom and Gomorrah is for me. This concept here that people are out of touch with reality. So in Philippians 4, verse 8, Paul tells us what we have to do to get ourselves back in order. And he says that we have to put aside all this type of fake business and start getting real. A man has to be a real man. You can't be a man deep inside that you have to dig deep to find a man in there. Or a female is a female. As I say, these men that are more feminine. To me, in secular parlance, there are certain females that come on reality TV program that they're the most feminine female. And as I said, many of these homosexual men, they have gone way beyond femininity, beyond those women. They're just so feminine, it's unbelievable. So if a guy now looking for an epic adventure, he's going to look at a female that is so feminine, but is a man, and he's going to say, man, I'll go with the more feminine man than I go with a regular female, because a regular female can't touch that. It's just out of control. And that's the craziness that happened. You see, so that's where when you start going on epic adventure, you start eating crazy food, you start looking for crazy women, and then end up with men and stuff like that, because they're just over the top. Philippians, if you're looking for epic adventure, that is. So Philippians 4 verse 8 says, finally, brethren, we're not finished yet. I'm just saying, finally, brethren, he says, whatsoever things are true. So we have to deal with true. We have to deal with the truth. A person walking around as a guy and it's a female, it's not the truth. This person is walking around as a lie. And so we have to look at that and say, I love the truth, and this person is a lie. This person telling lies. Also, whatsoever things are honest, this person is not honest. The sodomites are not honest, and that's just the truth. They're not dealing honesty. But also, because we're dealing with finance here, for your finance, you have to do life where you do life where is honest. That means you can't be tripping up people by faking. You know, if you can't afford that car, don't buy that car. If you can't afford that house, don't buy that house. If you can't afford whatever, just don't do it. Somebody said, but I have one life to live, Lloyd. Yeah, assuming you don't drop dead tomorrow, you live for a while, you want to be able to pace yourself. It's like pace yourself. You don't want to get to a point where you have to be doing bankruptcy 6 times. Pace yourself. But there's people who they must live that rich lifestyle. And by doing so, they're destroying other people. And they just have a lot of misery. Because the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. And it says, while many covet after that love of the money, they wound themselves and pierce themselves with many sorrows. There's a lot of headache people give themselves because they love money too much. So notice here, whatsoever things are just. So our society don't deal in justice. They deal in a lot of injustice because they're always justifying how they make money. Or there's a lot of things that people have to justify. As I say, if you're walking around as an anime or a Mortal Kombat character, you're just not just. It's just you're being unreal. Whatsoever are some you ever see these people? They always have these police chase. I know they don't do them in New Jersey or New York, but in California they do police chase where the police is chasing somebody that believe they're in a video game called Grand Theft Auto, and they always end bad. It's just so, or they kill somebody and they kill themselves and stuff like that. It's just so sad. So notice here, but they really believe they're in a video game. So whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So you want to think on these things, right? And so you think on things that are of lovely and good report. See, this stabilizes us, and this let us get to deal with reality, deal with stuff. For me, I find taking care of myself, my body, as of utmost importance. But in order for me to do that, I have to cook, I have to make salads, I have to juice, I have to do things like that. But these are slow processes. These are processes that, you have to be home. You have to be in the kitchen. You have to do things that are just regular life. You have to go shop. You have to go pick up the produce and look at it and say, is this good? Get some ginger and some apples and so forth. And go juice that. See, but when you live in epic adventure, somebody will say, Lloyd, but I want to be able to jump off of a tree and or jump off of a building and do that type of stuff. I'm like, man, the time you're jumping off buildings and stuff, go ahead and go juice. Go make a salad. Take care of yourself. Somebody said, well, how could making a salad and making some juice be more important and better for my life than jumping off of a building? Like, just go jump off a tree. So I have some tree right there. I can see. I climb into the trees and jump off one of those trees. How could that be? This is how I look at life, and I go to Romans next. When you do life and you understand that the most epic experience you have is in your body, all right? The body that you live in. That's how I look at it. My most epic experience is in the body that I live in. My mental state and my physical state. There's things that I do that, somebody could say, oh, that's impressive. But when it's all said and done, the way I feel mentally and the way I feel bodily is so important. For somebody will be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I could go for a walk. I could go for a ride, bicycle ride. I could go kayaking. I go hiking, all of those things. I go snorkeling. I do all of that. But when it's all said and done, cute. That's all nice, well and good. But then none of them is that important to me than how I feel in my head and how I feel in my physical body. That is more important. So for me, making a salad, juicing, exercising, drinking water, drinking whatever, taking herbs, very important. So for somebody else, that's mean nothing to them. It's like what it is. And you see them, you see, so that's why I don't go and jump off a tree, because my physical body is very important to me. And the way I feel mentally, that's why I don't try to watch certain things and disassociate myself from reality, because my brain and my thoughts and stuff like that are very important. My mental state and the balance of my mind and the happiness of my mind. It's more important. Now, somebody could hear me that and I'm thinking, listen, I've had certain experiences in life and I'm not looking to go do them again. I've read articles and I see videos of people who are like, the Michael Jacksons and the Mike Tysons and, whoever else is out there, Brad Pitt and those people. And I have no desire to live that type of lifestyle, because my lifestyle to me is more epic. But somebody say, how can it be epic? I'll tell you, it's epic to juice and drink that juice and get the benefit of it and live in my body. My body is my most important epic experience. I need to have an epic experience inside of my body. So notice here in my brain, Romans chapter 1, verse 18. Romans 1, verse 18. So you look at them and you be like, listen, there's some females I would not want to be around. I could say hi to them, but I would want to live in a box with them. Because it's going to be an epic experience, all right? Probably an epic experience where you're thinking about killing people and stuff like that. Not interested. Romans chapter 1, verse 18 onwards. So, for the wrath of God is revealed against heaven. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness. You don't want the wrath of God on you. And unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So there's probably a problem here, contradiction, because they have the truth, but they're doing things that are against the truth. But everybody does this. Everybody has to live a truth. You see, so this is why when the preachers preach Jesus, they don't preach about the way. See, Christ talk about he's the way, he's the truth, he's the light, he's the life. But it's easy to just talk about doctrines or prophecy or about your best days are ahead of you. But to talk about the way, how to live, and how to have peace in your soul. See, peace in my head and in my surroundings are more important to me than anything else. You see, so I see people going down a certain road and I'm like, that ain't gonna work. That's a fanciful lifestyle, but that leads to depression, suicide and murder, homicide, mass murders. This is the reality. See, because somebody holding the truth, but the truth is they're contradicting their truth. See, my truth is in my mind and in my body. And that's how I look at it. You're going to have to do your thing. But I know what I'm doing. So that's the truth I hold. And that's it. It's like this. So you believe that a salad is more important than jumping off of a tree, or jumping off, white water rafting. You can't go do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just simply saying, just having a healthy body and healthy colon, healthy digestive tract is more important. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So inside of me, as I interact with the world, there's obvious things that I can observe because it's going to be manifest. So somebody say, okay, so the Bible here is talking about the invisible thing. And this is not a Bible study on this because it's a Bible study in itself or a whole other thought. But I'll just say this here. So we can't see certain things, but we see the things that are here, that have been manifest. But we believe that there's things that are invisible. So I can't see flotation, but I know that the moon does not sit on anything. I know that Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, the sun, whatever, every celestial body sits on something. So whether or not we had satellites or anything, or not we flew in planes, we know that the earth is sitting on nothing. So we cannot see why, but we can know that there's something going on that we cannot tell. We use the evidence that we have to come to conclusion for the evidence, so to speak, that we don't have or what we cannot see. Because some people say, I cannot worship what I can't see. Well,
There's things that I understand, not by the things that is hidden from me, but by the things that are, because they're hidden, right? But by the things that is revealed. So what he's saying is that there's things you can come to conclusion with just by observation, by what you have. You base it on evidence, not based upon what you can see, but what you see. So I look at the moon and I look at the sun and I look at what they tell me is Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, whatever, the solar system. And I say, well, they're floating, it seems. It seems. So I could assume the earth is floating. Somebody could say, Lord, the earth is flat. And I could say, I can prove to you that the earth is not flat and it's on a disk. But I look at the sun and I say, on the moon, and it seems like they're a disk, a sphere. And somebody said, well, how do you sure? Well, I have a brain, right? And so I just use reason and logic and stuff. So there's things I can observe and I can say, I think this is what it's supposed to be. So in my social life, I can look at life and I think it's male and female. And somebody could say, but how are you sure? Well, just by my observation. I didn't have to read the Bible. It's just revealed. It's there. The evidence is overwhelming. I think somebody's in charge of this world. And somebody said, Lloyd, how do you know there's some being that is in charge? Because I look at the people in charge and it seems like they're not in charge. It seems like somebody's guiding things and leading it a certain way. And I'm like, I think there's enough evidence for me to believe that there's another being that's pulling the strings, so to speak. I didn't read the Bible. I just observed certain things, right? By the things revealed. He's saying that says there's things that's revealed to you. So it's like me said to you, it's more important for me to experience the vessel I live in the tip-top condition than for my house to be in the best of condition, but my body's falling apart. So it's like me, I find the most expensive car that you can find, or the top 10 expensive cars, and I go and pull up in front of a fast food restaurant and put fuel, because that's what food is. Food is just fuel for our body. It gives us nutrients and energy. And put the cheapest fuel I can for my body. You see, that for me is not an epic adventure, but my car is epic. My home is epic. But the body, the home I live in, that my brain resides in and my body resides in, is falling apart. So I would view that as say, oh no. See, so I flip the script because it's evidence to me based upon what it is. Now somebody said, you read it in the Bible. I don't have to read it in the Bible, but I can find the Bible text. As you know, if you listen to me here, you know that I go on a lot of Bible text stuff. I use a lot of Bible text. So this is how I view life. So for me, I have to be comfortable. So now when it comes on to finance, what does this mean for me? When it comes on to finance, what this means for me is that I make sure from a financial point of view, I'm living my best experience, because I'm not living my life for the world to see. That's why I don't really do too well on social media, because I post, it is, my experience has to be for me personally, not for others to see. And so for me, I can't spend money just to make somebody think I'm doing great, because I have to do great. And if I must spend $5 more, it might be an epic adventure, but am I happy? Because there's a lot of people, you've seen them, they're not happy, but they live the greatest life that you could document on, on reality TV. Reality TV documents some of the most epic life of people, but then some of these people kill themselves, and you realize they were not happy. And then you start hearing about that there were all kind of problems in their life. See, for me, it's just my private life has to be better than my public life. For other people, they have a different reality. So for me, it's just, how am I doing financially is more important than how somebody think I'm doing financially. I know my neighbors, think about it. We live among neighbors that nobody cares for them, and they definitely don't care for you. So what are you worried about? Well, how they think, and you have to put the best foot forward. I believe that. You always put out the best you can outside, but you have to do it within reason. So notice again here, in verse 20 it says, for the invisible things of the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So people are without excuse. Somebody could say they know better. No, they eat their conscience, but they know better. And the way that people eat their conscience is with this text here, Proverbs 22, verse 22 and 23. In Proverbs 22, it says, rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause, and spoil the soul of those that spoil them. So here the Bible tells us very importantly that we should not rob the poor. Now notice it says here that we should not rob the poor because they're poor. That means they can't really do not much about it. They're going to be poor. And this is what we do in a society. There's no question about this. Unless you're not thinking, the evidence is the society that we live in rob the poor because they're poor. Because the dominant theory in our society is the survival of the fittest. And you must dominate those that are weaker. That's the philosophy of Western civilization from day one. And that's their philosophy. But it says, don't do this because they're poor. Somebody would say, Lloyd, is it evident that I shouldn't do this? Yes, it's evident. It is revealed. I don't need to read the Bible for you to say, yeah, I shouldn't rob the poor because they're poor. So whatever, I could come and preach something to you, but you don't be a knucklehead. You're supposed to be able to look at it and say, yeah, that's not right. Yeah, it's revealed to me. Somebody say, how is it revealed to you? I believe the Spirit revealed it to us and reason revealed it to us. You see somebody's poor and you look at them and they live in a shed, as an example. You should look at that and you say, wait a minute. I have a Bentley, a Lamborghini. I don't. I'm not saying somebody rich have a Bentley, a Lamborghini. Their car alone, one of their cars, is worth more than a shed or a trailer or whatever. It should be obvious to them that they shouldn't rob the poor, that they have enough. So God reveals this to us. God somehow gives us a reason. Everybody has a reason, and every single person have conscience. We are born with a conscience. And no matter how much people talk about evolution, they cannot explain what is it about human beings that we all have a conscience. No, we can't eat our conscience, but everybody have a conscience. That's why people sometimes go so depressed because of the wickedness they do. You can't controvert it. Stephen Hawkins can't controvert it. Whoever, the names. None of them can controvert this concept. And they can explain why would evolution build us with a conscience. But they tell us that they evolve and it seems like they don't have a conscience. So the things they do, they hide that they don't have a conscience. But now, here's the thing now. What is revealed to me naturally is that we all have a conscience, and that's why they're so depressed and suicidal. Because you go back to the people who act as if they have no conscience and they're told from childhood, oh no, you can rob the poor. They're the ones that are depressed. Now somebody say, how can you prove that empirically? Yeah, I can. The document is there. Somebody said, Lloyd, but correlation doesn't mean causation. Sure, as I say, there's no proof that beyond a shadow of a doubt. There can be doubt, and there's always doubt. But it's enough evidence I can show you circumstantially and all kind of stuff. Enough evidence and say, why is it that the people who are taught from their birth that you can rob the poor because you're evolved are the people who are most suicidal and depressed and cause almost all the wars and all the embargoes in the world, literally, almost all of them. Somebody say it's just a coincidence. Sure, you can keep living that way. I live different. So notice here, because he's poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. So that is probably disability, sickness, some, like blindness or something. They're afflicted. Tragedy happened to them. Hurricane came, destroyed their house, now they're homeless. Tornado came, destroyed the house, now they're homeless. So they're in a vulnerable position. Now notice, just show you that what human beings do. The moment there's a hurricane, what does the government do? The government start telling people, don't scam these people. Don't price gouge. Because if there's a hurricane and there's a shortage of fuel, what does the gas stations who have limited supplies, because probably the roads got damaged, they start to jack up the price. Do they know that is wrong? Does the government know they're going to do this? Yeah. So those in leadership always say, don't do it. And if you do it, we're going to arrest you. And we're going to charge you for stealing. So we know that these things are wrong. But the person, for greed, because they want to probably live an epic lifestyle, will go ahead and jack the price up so they can make a killing. But who they're robbing? They're robbing people who are afflicted. So we know that that's what's happened, but we know that's what we do. So neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. Because the person already have a bad situation and then we pile on. So this is why the moment there is what they call them, disaster capitalists. The moment you remember, I think it's the son-in-law. I can't remember his name. For Donald Trump, when the moment the Gaza situation and Israel start bomb the poor, because that's what they do, that's their existence, it seems, and kill those people in Gaza, that he started talking about, what's his name? But anyway, he started talking about how he want to go in and make beachfront property. So they think that way. They think, oh, the moment the war in Ukraine started, all these different big timers from BlackRock and Blackstone, all these different investment heads who are rich beyond measure, they're running over there because they want to get a piece of the pie, and they want investments and they want stake because it's their time to rob, right? Whenever people are at their wits' end, it's time to go and grab their house and grab their land and rip them off. So this is the world that we live in. Well, why are they doing this? Because they are rich. As I say, one of their cars will buy probably a whole town, just a whole town, a whole compound. It just tells you wickedness. But this is why, again, people be like, puzzled. Oh yeah, Jared Kushner. Thanks very much, Jared Kushner. Right? You can go online, you can read it. So I say it because it's public knowledge. This is why people are, and this guy is a rich guy, but he's talking about beachside property but they did these things in New Jersey, so they have a history of it. But this is why people are puzzled when comedians kill themselves, or when rich people like that kill themselves, and you find out they were depressed. Because you see, as I said, the mind I have in my mind is more important to me than all the money I have, because I have to live in my head. No, only me know. Nobody knows. My wife don't know. Nobody know what's the true state of my mind, so to speak. You can know to a certain degree of what I talk about, because out of the abundance of the mind, the mouth speak. But for the truest factor, nobody knows. But I have to live in my head. And so for me, the money's not worth it. For me to see that, say, oh dear, there's a hurricane, it's time for me to go in and steal. And the society knows, because somebody could say, Lloyd, what do you mean the society knows? Listen, you go online, you can find that the moment that the hurricane hit North Carolina, I was seeing all the time on social media, Facebook and Twitter and stuff, that they're talking about there's lithium in North Carolina, in that area, and that the big corporations are going in to start grabbing land because they want to be able to get land from lithium mining. Now, is it true? I don't know. I didn't go check. I think I did check just to see if lithium is in here, and I found out there's lithium. But to what amount and stuff like that. But what they're saying is that this is a plan to displace people. Now, is it true? No, don't repeat what I just said there. I'm just saying what they're saying. I'm not really believe either way. But it's just to think of the people. The people know that they're fellow human beings. They know. But they'll, on media and stuff like that in public, they won't admit the fact that they think their fellow citizens are corrupt, and that they'll kill them and destroy their land and whatever they take from them. But you think it's just probably those people in the ghetto, they're doing it too. Anybody that's afflicted, they'll do that. And we see the evidence of this. And that's why the Lord did that, teach us certain things in the Bible. The Bible not just blow it up for us and give us the deeper explanations for why human beings, because of sin, people behave like this. So for us, we go with the understanding, and we start to understand that much show off, because people are doing this to show off, much waste is because, again, there's a time you're going to waste money because you're showing off. Much of the oppression we see is because people want to live fanciful lifestyle, epic adventure. They want to live the craziest things in this life, and they'll hurt themselves because what it is, I have to face my checking account and my savings account. I have to face my financial well-being. And I can go on a vacation just to take pictures. Did I enjoy the vacation? Am I going to come back depressed? You see, this is how I view life. For me, I have to enjoy myself. And some of the things I do to enjoy myself is not that expensive anyhow. If I go snorkeling, what does it cost me? Almost sometimes it costs me nothing. So, the equipment, and that's about it. But do I have a good time? Yeah, I have a great time. Do I have an epic adventure? Absolutely, because I really enjoy seeing fishes. But what does it cost me? And if I go snorkeling, and a multi-billionaire goes snorkeling, what does it cost him? It don't cost him anything more than me. So a lot of things that people do other than taking drugs and doing crazy things, Why is all this oppression? You know, if I go on a bicycle ride and a multi-trillionaire or billionaire goes on a bicycle ride, what does it cost him? It costs, you know, the most he can do is spend probably a few $1,000s for a bicycle. Other than that, what does it cost him? Nothing. It's the same cost. A lot of things that we do that are really bring us joy. You know, just sitting around a fire and hamming it up, talking to those who we love. What does it cost us? You know, a lot of things that people killing people for just to show off. It really doesn't change the life trajectory and the happiness of life. And this is why you can see so many people who are so rich and so famous and so they kill themselves. They're not happy. So we do for happiness internally and externally. A lot of what we're really getting happy for is nature, enjoy nature. And that's about it. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God says, let there be light, and there was light." That's how God started. And we have to start back at a position. You know, when I first read this the first time, I was like, this is amazing. You know, because you could hear people preach about the Bible, talk about the Bible. And but then when you pick it up for yourself and you say, let's read this, you read this, and you start here, you'll be like, huh? You started something that is an epic adventure because it describes something that was like already there. And it describes something that was without form and void, and then God starts. And he starts with light and so forth, and we keep going. What does this mean to you and I? A lot of waste that we see in our society, you say, what is it for? How many rockets they sent up, other than for satellite and for me to be able to talk to you here? What are they doing? They're going to go to Mars? Are we real? We're going to oppress the poor to go to Mars? Is that really for any valuable thing? But they believe that. And they've been believing that for a while. But how much money is it costing? How much lives should be saved? What is all this fight about? See, Christ come to us and Christ said to us, listen, there's family, there's community, there's the society, and then there's the country. And then there's the world in large. We need to live as people that we're on the same planet. But there's people working to destroy the planet and then try to figure out an escape plan. Literally. And you watch their interviews, they'll tell you. They think this thing gonna blow up. And so what we need to do is blowing up rockets to shoot up there so we can get to Mars, so we can terraform it. It is nuts. You cannot terraform Mars. I challenge any of them. You're nuts. You're not God. If you read what we just read here, this is terraforming. I'm going to read it again for you in a second. This is terraforming. God is, hopefully I'm saying the word right, terraforming. Terra, T-E-R-A, T-A, you know, I think it's T-E-R-R-A, forming. So you cannot do this. They can't do this. They're nuts. They can't even get over here. And they have two people stuck in outer space. Or no, sorry, up in orbit. Right? And they can't even get them out there. And they have rocket. As I say, America has blown up at least 3 shuttles with human beings on it. And yet they tell me they want to go to Mars. You see, they have not been back. They claim they went to moon, and they have not been back to the moon in so many years. And they're saying now for them to get to the moon, it's going to be a long process just to get to the moon. And if you go to the moon, let me ask you, if you go to the moon, what has been accomplished? What has been accomplished? What is the point? Instead of spending all that money and time taking care of down here where we're at, which has been terraformed by God, they're spending all this money and wasting time trying to destroy the earth and using destruction of the earth by blowing up things and keep setting up there. And you almost want to say, go up, go up. We want them to go up there and send that rocket with some live people, no monkeys or chimpanzee, and send it to Mars, and let's see how that works. Nuts. You're going to terrify. There's pride and arrogance and wasting money. This is a big thing. They're wasting money. And instead of using, and the same cretins that are killing people all over the world will turn around and instead of using the money to take care of the earth and terraform the earth. At that point, I say, listen, I have a challenge for them. Since you're so bright and you're superior to everybody, why don't you go over to Sahara Desert or to the desert in Arizona, which is where you land the first time, as some people claim, to go to the moon? Why don't you go there and why don't you terraform there? All right. Why don't you make fauna firm? What is it? Because you already have the sun already, and you have land, and you don't know water per se, but you have a whole bunch of stuff working for you here. There's no vacuum. There's no that nothing. Go over there and then do likewise. And then when you finish with Arizona, then go to Sahara Desert. And when you've accomplished that, then probably you can go up to Mars. And you can take some of my tax dollars and send probably the 10 richest people in America and probably find some in Europe and China, whatever. And you all put them on a rocket and send them over there. Send all the bright people. They go up there and figure it out. So I'll read it again for you. Terraforming. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form. So this is where when I was younger, I was scratching my head, because it doesn't say that God, when he created the heavens and the earth, how would I say this, that he created the rock that we live on. It says the earth was without form and void. I mean, it was not in the form that we believe it is in now, or we experience it in. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. So somebody said, Lloyd, have you ever heard about, I've been asked this question before, about something about the deep, dark matter and stuff like that. And every time I hear people talk about dark matter, or they talk about terraforming Mars or Pluto, Jupiter, or whatever, I always think, the Bible just tells you something that's very fascinating that science talk about, that they say they can see, like the black hole. They can see the black hole. They can see, there's something about darkness that they always talk about. And then you read this text and you make you wonder, because it says like there is something there and there's water. Now, notice, what is the let me ask you, what is the scientists have been concerned about outer space, these planets in our solar system? They always say, is there water there? Can you find water? Because water gives you, H2O. And these are the major components of life. So when you think about that, right? So notice it says, and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. What is the deep? Because they always talk about in deep space, there's this, you know what they talk about. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So there was something already there, which is fascinating. It's not what you normally think of. In other words, whatever I heard about creation as a child coming up, and then as a child, when I read this the first time, I was puzzled, because it didn't read the way I thought it was going to read. And then obviously when you get into later on in the Bible, you start realizing there's more was happening before. Like life didn't start here, when God created the earth. It's a total different discussion. We can't have it here. Some of the thoughts I have about this. But the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the deep, of the water, sorry. So it seemed like without form and void, and then there's water. And God says, let there be light. Many people have said, this is not the sun. He didn't say, let there be the sun. You're putting light into the darkness. What is that light? Is it, there's a background radiation? Is it whatever it is? And you see that. And he says, and there was light. So when we talk about after the boasting going on, after the show off, a lot of this show off is what have they produced? When you talk about all these wars that we fight for material possession and global hegemony, why we're fighting these wars is to show off that we have the best bombs, we the power to be the best with it. You see, show off. But it's killing people for no reason, people that we could save alive and bless. But we go at life because we're showing off. Because, look at this weaponry, look at this thing. We have created enough bombs to destroy the earth over multiple times. And God sees this and God knows. So when you see the poor grinding down, we can't be part of that. We can't support that. We are supposed to be the antidote to the evil of society. When we see society doing everything to show off, we're not trying to show off. We're trying to take care of our health. We're trying to take care of our finance. We are trying to bless the poor while they're trying to destroy the poor. We're trying to bless the oppressed and the afflicted in the gate while they're trying to, we're the opposite to what they do. Because we're the salt of the earth and we're the light of the earth. And so we move in a different direction. So our money is for our blessing and for the blessings of those that we love and those we come in contact with that are afflicted by the evildoers in our society. This is how we look at life. It don't matter where you live in this life. This is our process. When they create orphans, we take care of the orphans. When they create widows, we take care of the widows. When they create people who are sick, we try to help the sick and bless the sick. We are the opposite of what they do. Notice in Genesis 2, verse 15, Genesis 2 verse 15 says, and the Lord God took man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Everything we do in life, we go at life this way. So it doesn't matter if you have a new home or old home. If you have a shack, whatever it is, your aim in life, your process in life, this is the process of life. Everything we do in life, we dress and we keep. Everything. We always approach this life. Remember, this was in a perfect world where there was no sin. And Adam and Eve's job was to dress and keep. What work is literally to dress and keep. If somebody has a wound, we dress and keep the wound. I'm trying to nurse a person back to health. Our physical bodies, we dress and keep it. Our minds, we dress and keep it. Our homes, we dress and keep it. We're always improving on what we have, and we always developing. There's an infinity in development for us. The question is asked, why is it that if we are, life that has nothing to do with infinity? Because people question this concept of eternity, man can live forever. Why is the brain infinite in its ability to hold information and memory? And the answer is we were built to last forever. If you understand natural health, you start to get this idea in your mind that we were built to last forever. Not just mentally, not just our brain, but our physical. We were built to last forever. Adam and Eve was built to last forever. We're told that's because they lost the tree of life. That's why their body grind down. And then because of sin, their body grind down. But you take that experiment and you say, it's evident. The creation, what God created, and I read in the Bible, and the Bible says God created the heaven and the earth. I say, okay, is that true? And that we're built to last forever. And with my memory, I realize, and my mind, it was built to last forever. But with my body, I could say, well, probably not. And then I say, no, it's built to last forever. So you start to do that, and you start to say, I'm going to juice, I'm going to take some herbs, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to take care of my body. And then you start realizing, wait, I don't age as rapidly as a person who's not taking care of their body. So I started saying, wait a minute, am I built to last forever? I'm like, yeah, we were built to last forever. Now, obviously, the Lord had to recreate this body because it's been damaged by sin. We have genetic damage and all kind of stuff. But you can just taste and see that the Lord is good. So we were built to last forever. So the evidence that we see in what we interact with, what we see in the world, the things that are made testify to us about an invisible and. Why? Because when we read the Bible, and the Bible tells us that, we say, let's test this. And we test it and we say, see, we're built to be a blessing to our fellow human being. We're never supposed to be the Jones, where people trying to keep up with us. We're supposed to be those that never lie to people, never put a false image that we have more money than we do, so that we are our neighbor's keeper. We don't bear false witness, which is what I'm talking about, the Sabbath. And by doing this, what it is that we can live in community. But we see evidence that there's people amongst us who, because they have sin in their mind, they don't understand how to be community people. They don't understand that we're built, which is the next thing someone's going to go to. So I guess I'll deal with it tomorrow because I'm kind of unhealthy here. But we're built to live in community. And in Genesis 2 verse 15 it says, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone, and I will make him an helpmeet for him. So everything that we see in the creation of God tell us that we don't show off on others. We don't live fairy tale life. We live in the real life. The real life is that we're built to live with people. We're built to live in a community. We're built to live in a family. And when we break this, we become sad. We're not glad. Our happiest experience is when we hang out with our loved ones and our friends. Our happiest experience is when we take care of our bodies. Our happiest experience is when we live according to the things that we see, and it points to the invisible creator, that there's a creator, there's a person that make this, and he make it that you ain't going out to no outer space. You're not going to terraform Mars. I don't care what they tell me. It's not going to happen. We're quarantined to this earth. You're not taking all your mess and bringing it to outer space. There's no such thing. We're built for earth, and we're built to live in this environment. We need to learn to be a community. We need to learn to live as a family. Anything else is a lie. And everything that we don't do it to destroy our community and to bear false witness to our neighbors and all that type of stuff. So there's more I want to talk about on this. But at the end of the day, we want to live a real life, and to be the Bible described to us what a real life is. We don't live in a fairy tale life. We're not going on fairy tale epic adventures and none of that, because none of that works. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. Pray, Lord, you may be with us, dear Father, that we may truly always be a good witness and a clear witness and a true witness to our neighbors. And may we truly be always walk humbly in this life for Christ's sake. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live. Tomorrow we should talk about natural health. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.